Warning. Pro-Tri News is a podcast with different opinions, knowledge, and possibly fake news about triathlon racing. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and some stories may be dramatized for comedic effect. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome back to Pro-Tri News. It's been a while since we've all four together and had a pod out. So super excited to be joining you guys again today. And thanks to the listeners for hanging in with us. So without further ado, we got Talbot Cox joining the show. Talbot, how it going?
I am doing amazing. You know, last year I had everyone go harass the feed on their socials after our little commercial in Kona, and they gave me a chance this year to make a docu-series, and it's kind of all coming together. I like to use the term docu-series. It's not really a docu-series. Like a docu-series goes on Netflix. This is like long-form YouTube videos that, to feel good about myself, I call a docu-series. But I was just chatting to Mark. I was like, everything's going great other than Kat kind of ruined the first episode, which is Taylor in Texas. If she wouldn't have showed up, it would have helped a little bit. But the edits are coming along amazing, and I just can't wait to show it to everyone. But yeah, Mark's on the show too.
I hate to say it, you do a very good job of those long form. I mean, this is where people first knew you from, like Road to Kona, and they were amazing. So if it's anything like that, awesome. Mate, I'm good. We were at home on last Sunday, and me and Kat were just at each other a little bit. So I was like, I left the house, I'm off to the pub. And 45 minutes later, I get a text, and it's just flights to Lanzarote, leaving at 6 a.m. the next morning. I looked to the guys in the pub. I was like, well, better get home. So we jumped on flights and we headed straight to Lanzarote. It's been the best decision she's made or we've made, because I've done some training. So I'm ready to help Kyle out and me out, actually. I need to help myself out first in Roth. But life's good. We're going home tomorrow.
Nice. And Pat Lemieux joining the show as always.
Yep. Nope. Super exciting week. You guys would have seen yesterday, Gwen and I launched the Gwen Jorgensen Scholarship again. So after a 9-year hiatus. So we're thrilled that for young aspiring junior triathletes, there's $35,000 up for grabs. And it's just kind of fun because we've taken some time off from this. And I got a reminder on our DMs from Jamie Riddle's dad that Jamie was a recipient of this award, 10 years ago. So it's cool to still see these athletes that got some money along the way and got supported, and they're still racing today. So
and Jillian, who works on all of our graphics and uploads all those for us.
Yeah. So no, and I even think, I don't remember if Lydia Russell, who won over the weekend, if I've certainly seen her name. I think she applied for it as well. Chase McQueen was in there. He's still racing.
That's so cool.
There's been Tamara Gorman. There's been a bunch of different athletes. So my plea is, please share that announcement with, if you know a aspiring or a junior aspiring for excellence, please share it with them.
Is that only Americans or no?
We've done global. Yeah,
okay.
We've done global. So we just look for the best applications, and frankly, reading the applications is our favorite part.
Cool.
And so let's chat after the show. Noah's 16 months now, so let's after the show, let's talk about what we need to do to get this done.
You beat me to it. I was going to say me and Kyle are off to walk around Roth in 12 hours. So can you send us some cash?
just $1,000 each should do it. We'll be super pumped.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, let's chat a little bit about the racing that's happened. Obviously, we didn't have time to talk about Eagleman before we've all been traveling. So Eagleman happened a couple weeks ago, Pro Series race. Sam Long came away with the victory, and then under a little bit of pressure, but in the end, Lucy Charles just proved why she's one of the best athletes in the world, coming away with the victory. What'd you guys think of this race?
Literally the day before I decided I was going to go, and I flew into DC, drove over to the race like the night before, got there at about 9 p.m. And it took me forever to find a hotel. Shout out to the Cannon bike mechanic over here. He had a hotel booked and ended up giving it to me, but I was going to crap on this race so hard on the podcast and be like, this is a nightmare. They shouldn't do the race here. The logistics and everything are so hard. But then seeing the bike course was just phenomenal. I mean, it was actually flatter than Samarin, which is pretty hard to think about, but beautiful bike course, great little run course, but it's such a hometown vibe. It's pretty cool to see the likes of Lucy Charles come over, rock up to that race. But we saw Trevor Foley and Sam duke it out at the front. It was pretty cool. Then we saw Lucy kind of run away with it. Chelsea was running her down the first half and then kind of faded. But other than that, I mean, I think it's it was Sam's. What is Sam's best results of the year? Trevor's best results since Placid last year, so it shows he's in the right direction until this last weekend in Boulder. But other than that, great little local race.
Yeah, I mean, I watched some of the coverage. Coverage was solid. The commentary team they have now seems to be pretty slick. I like the two ladies kind of duking it out. There was some controversy, wasn't there, about the 5-minute gap to the male pros, and it really raised the flag again that we can't always have massive gaps, but you shouldn't be getting caught in the swim. And there was a male pro that swam 44 minutes. Lucy Charles put 20 minutes into him in a swim. Like, do you know, like, you can have all the gap in the world. If people are giving out pro licenses to them, the gap's no longer the issue. Get a fucking grip of the standard. And also have a look at yourself. If you get ridden down in the first mile of the bike course, put yourself in your correct category. It's the same as a shit swimmer standing at the front of the age group swim and then just getting swam over and complaining about it.
Yeah.
You are doing yourself and others a disservice by pretending you're something you're not. And they then interfered on the women's bike the whole time, basically. That's the only negative. The rest are pretty good.
So here's a group text with me and Reese. And I was out there on course, and I was in a car behind the group. And I texted Reese, and I said, it's actually very fair racing. There's a group of 5 girls working together. Motos are staying out of the way, and they're riding very fair. Okay, then Reese replied back and was like, Reese replied back and was like, 5 girls? What are you talking about? That's only a group of 2. And then when we eventually overtook them, there's 3 dudes that are interfering with the female race. And I'm like, what are you guys doing?
Did you just reply back? Did you reply back and say, I was mistaken, and you just sent 3 eggplant emojis? Like that's who's amongst the group.
To be fair, the worst part was a guy tried to go pass around Chelsea, and Chelsea put her arms up because the guy couldn't even pass Chelsea on the bike. And Chelsea put her arms up like, you can't ride up and then just ride on the side of me. And so it's like, it's not really Chelsea's fault, but also too, it's like, it's just, I don't know, man.
There needs to be, I don't want to say there needs to be a rule here, because what there needs to be is a little bit better self-selection. Going back to what Mark said. If this is happening, look, if it happens once in a race, but certainly if you get caught by the women on the bike and you don't sit back and remove yourself from that race, it's kind of, I feel like it's open slather for us to really bust you up. I'm sorry. Like, we're just going to peer pressure you through it now.
And we've threatened to start naming names again. And so my logic on this stands, and I don't see why this is difficult. You get one chance to re-overtake an extra, exit yourself from the situation. Say someone gets a puncture, the women come past, that guy should still be able to get back in the race. He gets one chance to overtake. If you're not going ahead and dropping them and they come back past you, shit bust, you sit back, you get right out the back and you don't interfere again. Otherwise, you're just embarrassing. Like, you're embarrassing yourself and you're ruining the women's race. So one chance, get out of Dodge. If not, get your ass to the back.
And like I said, again, I don't think that Grace and Chelsea were doing this. Like, they're just racing in their race. Like, it's not their fault that men are interfering in their race. But one interesting note, if you look at the splits, once those 2 guys separated from the girls, they started going backwards from Lucy. And I chatted with Reese after. Lucy held a steady power until Lisa came back by, and then they jumped on her wheel, and they were coming back up. And so it's just like, it's Ironman's fault. It's not the athlete's fault. This is purely Ironman's fault.
And USAT.
And USAT.
And other organizations making these too easy to get pro cards. So let's not just all let Ironman. I do think there is one last thing which we don't want to bang on, because I don't think it's their fault. But if a pro man comes past you and you speed up to hold their wheel, come on, you know you're cheating. It might be gamesmanship, not breaking the rules, but come on. It's just a bit of like, do you want an independent women's race? Is that what you want for the sport? Which is what the women will say they want. If you want that, act like that's what you want as well.
Because to be fair, and we'll move on to the next race. What stops it from an athlete like Mark, you, just being like, okay, Kat, I'm just going to go get my pro license. I'll sit up in the water, and you're just legally going to ride behind me.
About 70 watts is what stops it. Maybe 170 watts. But I've said this before, back when Kat started racing, we joked about this because I could have done it then, but didn't do it because not an asshole.
Yeah.
Anyway, next race. Eagleman was really good. Sorry,
Mark. You're an asshole, Mark. You're just not you're just not a cheater. Like you've just got some. You do have some ethics and morals around how the
very
race
few of them. Very few, but these are some I do have. You're right. Totally fair point.
Can we also mention real quick? Not that it's super important, but someone did swim with Lucy Charles, which is like the first time we've ever seen that. So shout out to Margarita Ryan.
Sarah Parasalas let her out, but not someone like that. Not someone that re-overtook.
An American that actually knows how to swim. Everyone better watch out.
If she learned how to bike and run, it'd be more interesting. But yeah.
Cool. Should we crack on to the big race that happened, the T100 race in Vancouver? Someone want to take it?
Yep, I'll bring it on. So, we had a first-time race in Vancouver, and I think that was a venue that we were all really excited to see. And from what I'd heard and what the athletes had said, and Mark would know this because he coaches an athlete as well, it sounds like the support and service was, as always, very top-notch in Vancouver. The venue was in a position against the city where it was across the bay, and so I thought for the actual broadcast, the venue looked amazing because you could see the city behind it, and they were racing what was in presumably a more quiet part of town. But it wasn't like in Dubai or Miami where it was completely removed from town. I felt like you still kind of felt like you were in Vancouver. So probably the MVP of the weekend had to be these killer whales that showed up during the women's broadcast. So shout out to them because that was majestic. I think to see those things even on TV. I cannot imagine what it would have been like to be there in person and to see those things. Absolutely.
Can you imagine what it'd been like to be swimming?
Dude, that would have been terrible.
Fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
You had Sam Long pulling out of San Francisco because he was like, I don't know about this swimming out there by myself. I would have probably pulled out of this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing though. Yeah.
So this is one again where they had a staggered start. So they had the men's start at roughly 9:45 in the morning, and the women followed 3 hours later when they were on the run. So in the men's race, you had, I would say, a very aggressive front group on the bike that contained Rico Bogan, Mika Newt, Jelle Geens that eventually got dropped, Martin Van Riel, and there was quite a bit of racing on the front end. Mika Newt unfortunately got a drop. Sorry, and Kyle Smith too. So it was those five where I'd say the main players. You had Mika Newt that got a penalty about halfway through the race. That was really interesting because Jelle Geens had been dropped by this point. Mika Newt took his minute penalty, and I do want to commend. I didn't see where the penalties were, but I think it's cool that they're calling it. And I like this 1 minute penalty now because it doesn't feel like you're killing somebody's race. And we've talked about this. Mika Newt's group that had Mika Newt, Martin Van Riel, Rico Bogan had pushed away from Jelle Geens and Kyle Smith. Is that correct? Do I have that? Do I have that order correct?
Yeah.
They took the 1 minute penalty. Jelle Geens passed Mika Newt during that time, which the gap was at about 45, 50 seconds. Mika Newt caught back onto Jelle Geens, Kyle Smith group, and in all fair fashion, effectively towed that deficit back down to about 25 seconds coming into T2. So we got to see a fantastic run between Jelle Geens, Martin Van Riel, and Mika Newt coming in third.
He got lucky.
Jelle Geens. I mean, I don't want to be. There's absolutely Jelle Geens was a huge benefactor in this. I don't see a world how Jelle Geens could have come across that 1 minute
Oh no, I think it was a minute, wasn't it? And it would have probably gone to maybe a minute 30. Now, if you look at it on paper, he would still have won. So the right man probably still would have won.
Yep.
But that would have been even more exciting.
Yep.
But he definitely got lucky there.
That was really crazy. So, I think a great men's race, Rico Bogan really tried to take this race on the front end again on the bike and just couldn't inflict that same gap that he had in San Francisco. When he made his, what I saw his first attack on the downhill of the course, dude, I mean, he was doing 75K an hour in his drops and then did this inside pass. And I was just like, please, please, please make it through this. Okay. So he was taking every chance possible to try and get a gap, but ultimately it just wasn't enough. And I think he burned so many matches on that bike. He ultimately paid for it on the run. So I thought overall a really great men's race. I thought the broadcast was really good. The only thing I don't like about it is we have to, I don't like waiting until the women's race is done to hear from the men on their post race, because I'd love to see it.
But what's the alternative? Then
No,
we'll end up missing half the women's race.
No. The alternative would be go split screen, turn the volume off on the women's, and just get them while they're like still hot at the end, right? Like, because you're only grabbing them for a minute. So just you go 1, 2, 3. You got 3 minutes where the women are on. Their broadcast is on mute, but you can still see it. And I think just bouncing back and forth between those split screens would be my only bit. But obviously, the graphics are good. Vicky Holland's doing a great job. I think the broadcast looks really, really good. There's just some of those little finer details that they've got to probably think about, because like I don't really like seeing Martin Van Rail at the end of his race where he's changed, he's calmed down, and he's like put together for his interview. So that's my only I don't even want to call it a critique. I would just call it
no offense. If they have time to show Killer Wells, they have time to pound out a 1-minute interview.
Yeah.
Like the split screen thing was kind of new for them because they didn't do it in San Francisco. And so this was our first time seeing it from.
I thought the time gap, Kyle, because I then thought the staggered start worked perfectly. The way they timed it, I thought it was brilliant. Yeah. And they didn't show too much the women's swim.
Whenever they did start the women's race, they panned specifically to the women's race right as the run battle was starting to kick off. And then they quickly there was probably, I don't know, a couple minutes, but that's...
we're getting into
you know what I mean?
We're being we don't want to be pedantic. We don't. Yeah. We're trying to say, look, if we're given positive critical feedback on skewed, that would be my only take on it. I don't want to be deemed pedantic for it.
Do you guys feel like there was any surprises in the men's race between Medel Hidalgo, who everyone was super hype about, Batatos, who everyone was super high about, and both of them I would say did not have the best races?
Yeah, I thought those two kind of. I mean, I don't want to say flopped, but they certainly didn't. They didn't meet the expectations I had for him. I thought Morgan had a really solid race. He basically rode the entire thing alone.
Yeah, the fastest swim and the fastest run. So once he figures out how to ride a bike, a TT bike, I mean, Morgan's going to be a factor in these races. Because I mean, there's some WTCS race. Maybe it wasn't a WTCS. It was just the World Cup that he rode really, really well.
It's just the front end level of this is so steep to me. And I've done enough bike riding with Morgan. I'm going to race with him tonight. He is insanely strong. And then when I see he gets outridden by 4 minutes, I'm like, holy heck, these guys are another level. So they've spent time honing the position, honing the equipment. It's going to take years.
I just think the 20-meter draft rule is just perfect. You pay for it when you try to go for a group that's out of your ability, and it makes it to where someone like Rico and them can get away, and you see people like Yella going out the back. It's so fair. It's the right distance, and who cares if they ride 18 meters? Who cares if sometimes they're at 14? It's the perfect distance for long course racing. And I just think that they have, not only that, Yella is a way better rider right now than when he was last year in Vegas. I mean, it has just elevated the game so much. It's the perfect distance, in my opinion.
So I couldn't agree more. It is definitely better to watch because it's not so far that you don't have any groups. Because if it was so far there was no groups, it'd be really boring. But it makes it more exciting. The other standout you asked about surprises, Antonio Benito Lopez, I thought had an absolute blinding race to run in fourth. Super happy. He's a lovely guy.
And charged
super happy.
And charged really didn't make that progress until really, really late.
Yeah, like I didn't even know. I'm like watching the race and I'm like, oh, that's going to be a great result for Kyle Smith to bounce back after that penalty to get fourth place. And then all of a sudden I see Antonio. And I'm like, wait, I didn't even know he was like in fourth place until they were crossing the finish line.
Yeah, it was good.
Can we just before we go to the women's race, I just want to clarify one thing on the penalties and my thoughts on it. So what was interesting was where I don't think we didn't spend as much time on the penalties internally on our text thread because we feel like they don't kill your race. However, we can't tell you when they got those penalties, can we? And I think that's probably the only thing we would love a little bit more clarity on, like where did that occur? Because
the athletes get this data from Race Ranger of like how much time they're in the draft zones and all this stuff in the T100 races. Now the Ironman races, I think that data only belongs to Ironman, but in the T100 races, they get all the Race Ranger data of like how much time they spent in the zones and things like that. So that they're free to share that information.
Yeah, but that doesn't paint a big picture because it depends how many people you're overtaking and stuff like that. So that's quite hard to read into the detail.
Yep.
Just as my opinion on it, I watched the whole bike leg. I did think Mika Nut was running it a bit fine with how close he was continuously running in through the corners, and he'd go through all the corner sections really close, then let the gap go. I sort of can see why a ref might have given him a penalty. Like you said, Pat, I don't know where it was. He wasn't cheating, and you saw how strong he was when he closed the gap, but maybe a miscalculation. Kyle Smith, on the other hand, I think he got screwed because he was such big gaps, like all the time, often on the front through the technical bits because he's so good at that. I think Kyle got screwed a little bit. And as we're getting to the women's race, I highly suspect Paula got screwed.
Yeah. Sorry. Then the only other standout or honorable mention I'll give is that I was surprised at how much Sam Long struggled here. So he came out of the water four and change down, and then lost another 3 minutes to the front group on the bike. And I thought that was, the hard part is we can't get a read on that because I think he probably would have gone pretty deep in Maryland the week before. And he's on the back of 17 races in 18 weeks. And so it's hard to get a proper read there.
I want to push back on the penalties real quick. It's unfortunate. Sometimes you get unfortunate penalties. I mean, watch the Oklahoma City Thunder. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander gets anything he wants.
Listen to you. He didn't even know the Thunder's played in Oklahoma.
My own boy Lionel Sanders got a very unfortunate penalty when he could have potentially went top 5 in Finland. What I don't want to get into, though, is that where we can't beg them to call for penalties, and then they start calling penalties, and they're like, wait.
No.
And then what happens is,
I completely agree.
I know. Just let me finish. But then Sam Renouf goes to the officials and goes, guys, let him race. Like, sometimes I love Paula and I love Kyle, and you know what? They probably didn't deserve those penalties, but I'll guarantee you, next time they do a race, they will be a little bit more, I don't want to get this penalty again. And the problem is we've gotten away with murder for over a year in T100, and it's time to start calling them. And it's very unfortunate that 2 of our favorite athletes were the victims of it. But, hey, I've been on that side. My team has been on that side. I personally haven't. But I just say it's about time they start calling some penalties.
No, and I liked it. I liked the 1 minute. I liked that the athletes have to start the clock. I think that's a cool piece for the broadcast. So, but Talbot, I agree with you.
Yeah. What I would hate to see is at the next race, they're like, no penalties. Don't call any penalties. The athletes will get mad at us.
Yeah. Well, we're going back to Europe, so there's not going to be any penalties anyway.
True.
The women's race.
Women's race, we had... I'm blanking, but it was Lucy that let it out of the swim again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they had, and this is because it was bouncing back and forth between the broadcasts. So I'm a little bit.
Maya Kingma was hot on her heels.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you. So that was how the women's race started. I think then you had Taylor Knibb return on the bike and insert some dominance that was a little bit more typical of what we're used to seeing from her racing. So she made pretty quick overtakes after she's known for putting on her socks in T1 and losing some time, but quickly made up ground on that. Jess Learmonth stayed with her through that selection and then actually took some turns and rolled some turns, and it felt like they shared that workload as much as they could have. And in the meantime, they had put 4 minutes into Lucy Charles, who was third on the road, Maya Kingma shortly behind. They came off the bike. Taylor effectively ran away with it. You had, I'm
Julie
blanking.
Duron charged through to come in
flew
second.
through. Yep.
And
Jess
Jess
Learmonth
Learmonth
held on for third. Yep.
Yeah, I thought there were a few interesting things. I thought Jess Learmonth only stayed on because Taylor's cornering was so much worse than hers. Now, Jess's is probably very, very good, and Taylor's is average for a pro, let's call it that. So on the straights and the uphill bits, Taylor would come back to the front, really push the pace. But the gaps, Taylor, like every corner that Taylor was on the front, Jess effectively got a rest. And then she went through and kind of pushed that. She probably helped Taylor a little bit, learn her lines maybe. So I was super, super impressed with Learmonth there. Interesting to see Lucy Charles have 5 women effectively get out the swim with her. Like, gone are the days of Lucy's 3-minute gaps. That was a surprise to me. Another thing I noticed was Taylor Spivey, I think maybe, I'm hypothesizing, has clocked that Taylor put socks on in T1. And if you know you're going to get out of a Taylor, why don't you just do that as well? The problem is she then put socks on in T1 as well. But then she doesn't have the horsepower to overcome that gap. So then she's lost any group she's with, and she's just going backwards.
In no man's land.
Yeah, I suspect she regrets that. And then Julie Duron was really good on the run, but it's her form baffles me. I don't understand how an athlete can 1 week be unbelievable on the bike and the next be 5 minutes down, and vice versa. Like, parts of the season, she's very up and down on the bike. But second, what do you expect from Julie?
What were the other?
It was. I think another takeaway was, and it's funny, I can't take credit for this. An athlete pointed this out to me. I won't name. Isn't it crazy that Brett Sutton's athletes leave China and are in the front swim group, and then after like a week or two away from China or in between races when they're not in China swimming, they're all of a sudden like not making that front pack anymore? It's pretty standard. When Brett Sutton's athletes need to make that front group, they make that front group.
Yeah, I can't work out what that could be.
Me either. It's just interesting note because Julie Duron suffered a very big loss on the swim. Lucy Charles, I would say great performance for Lucy. Racing last weekend, Trevor Foley proved it is not possible. Sam Long struggled. And for Lucy Charles, this is, I would say, the most stacked field. She rode solo all day by herself on the bike. I
disagree.
I think she'd be kicking herself a little bit, like thinking, okay, I lost 4 minutes on the bike. If I could have kept that at a 90 seconds or 2, I'd have been on the podium.
And I think you can't say a great performance for Lucy Charles if you look at her resume.
Yeah.
She has about 5 results in history where she's not on a podium. This is one of them. I think what it does say is she's focusing on Ironman this year. She's done an Ironman. She did an Ironman. She's missed a 70 T100 race. She then does a 70.3 right before her second T100 race to make sure she's in Marbella. Lucy Charles is focusing on Ironman this year, where she will be magnificent. She's one of the greatest to ever do our sport. But I don't think you can say that's a good result for her. She might be happy with the performance, but fourth for Lucy, honestly, there's about 5 of them in 30 races.
Yeah.
So basically, we're just going to see her at what? What's the race we're going to see her at? London, and then not see her again for a while at T100.
Yeah, then she'll come to the rest of the T100s tired around Ironman races is my prediction.
Yeah. Ash Gentle, definitely a step in the right direction. Awesome performance. She has to be happy that she's going in the right direction.
Yeah, magnificent athlete. like won so many of these, has been incredible.
Yeah.
She will no doubt win another one in the future. You can't be good year in, year out for as many years as Ashley's been racing consistently. So she's just on a bit of a slump that she looks like she's getting out of, I would say.
Holly Lawrence, I am just getting more and more excited to see her race Placid. If that's what she's doing, I don't know if she's announced or if she's going to do another Ironman. I've just heard through the grapevine she's doing Ironman this year. Getting more and more excited.
Yeah, I heard she's doing Placid.
I agree, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some of these names that hit Placid. Chelsea Star pretty much has to do it, Holly, but I think they're in for an absolute kicking off Solveig.
Yeah. Any other surprises from the women's race?
Taylor Spivey, she's been sick for weeks, and to still bang out another top 10 is extremely impressive.
You're right.
Ellie Salthouse returning back from injury. Ran really well for Ellie. I mean, like, come back from a knee surgery and then run a 109. I don't think she's ran that fast in a 100K distance race. So hats off to Ellie. I believe her last 100K distance race was Singapore last year, maybe, and she ran like a 120. So huge result for Ellie. Also, can we mention real quick, they did have a age group race here at the T100, and the age group male athlete that won the race ran, I believe, like the fastest run split, like was top 5 run splits overall of both the age group and the pro race, and would have been good enough for 10th overall in the pro race.
Was it Manuel Messias?
No,
it wasn't the same course. It wasn't the same course, or there was something different. He is not coming 10th overall unless he is about to turn pro and will do really, really well instantly.
Huge result.
Huge
result. So,
can we chat real quick about Paula? Because I feel like that it's very unfortunate she got the penalty, but it probably killed her momentum. And I see her cracking in the top 5 in an extremely competitive field.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe her head went a bit after the penalty. And she races on emotion, Paula. I don't know what the best case could have looked like without that penalty, but you know,
I'm excited for Paula. I'm more excited. I feel like she's finally gotten away from Paula Sousa, so she can let her wings flap a little bit more. I feel like that she can definitely go into Ironman and do something.
I don't understand that from her new coach, and this isn't a dig, it's just I don't understand. And she basically said on the YouTube that her coach wants her to focus on 70.3 and T100 for a year. And I just think, how many years has she been doing that already? Like, I don't understand why she needs one more year. Is it to absorb the training style, the change in training? Maybe I don't understand. But
I mean, maybe if you're the coach, you'd like to just you want to know, okay, there's a new stimulus with me, the new coach coming in. Let's not do me, the new coach, plus a new distance, right? They're going to graduate it that way.
I'm with you on that.
I think that's selfish from the coach, because that's the coach not preparing to take a risk of failure in the athlete's eyes with the coaching. Paula's 36. And I only say this because, as we all know, we always say we love Paula, and I want to see her at an Ironman race. I don't know what waiting until she's 37 to do her Ironman does for her, except kind of gives the coach a bit of security. Just my very uneducated opinion on the topic.
Yeah, fair.
I'd like to just give a big shout out to the mechanics of the T100. Is his name Foy? Is that right, Mark?
Tony Foy. The guy's a fucking legend.
Yeah. So he really helped out Taylor with some bike stuff. So I want to give him a big shout out and a big thank you, and a big thank you to the T100 for making those investments in those mechanics that the athletes can rely on. So.
And it goes back to what Talbot, or what you said at the start. We bag on T100 for lots of things, but the pro experience and the way they're looked after, from Dylan to the media guys like Ronan and all those people, Chloe, all the media lot, to the mechanics, is the best in the world.
Yep. Hands down.
Kyle, you did a massive travel this week, man. You and Kenny, our dear friend Ken Dog, went to and from Cairns, Australia.
It was
we know you could spend 47 minutes on this on the experience recap, but try and condense it for us, okay?
Okay.
And you killed it, by the way.
Thanks, guys.
I mean, totally killed it.
Day one, we arrived and then got a text from Jamie Riddle. We were supposed to be recording a podcast, and he was like, "Can you actually do it today?" And me and Kenny are hot off the plane. We're like, "Let's go for a little 20-minute jog, and then we'll figure it out." And so, recorded a podcast with Jamie. It was really good. He talked a lot about his journey and all that stuff. Got to do a huge, massive amount of excursions. Went and did snorkeling at the Great Barrier Reef. Went in a helicopter tour of the Great Barrier Reef. Went to feed crocodiles and kangaroos. Was able to do everything. So huge shout out to Ironman in Queensland and everyone that made that kind of possible pre-race. And then we were able to do some interviews. Jackie Herring ended up coming over after her race in Hamburg, and we spent a lot of time together. So it was really, really fun week. Ironman Oceania, their team is incredible. They do a lot more than just Ironman stuff. So kind of want to give them some props for all the things that they do, because they also had a reef swim that me and Will McCloy did. They had a 5K. They had an Iron Kids race, which is swim, bike, and run over there, rather than just like over here, they just do it as a running event. So they do all of those leading into the race, and then race day, because they start the race so much later, they go all the way until like 2 a.m. So the Ironman team is basically just full on all week. So
I don't want to dog on Ironman North America. They are like, let's make money and let's get out. Let's get in, let's get out. And Ironman Oceania, these are like different entities. There's like Ironman Mexico, Ironman Europe, Oceania. Ironman Oceania and Ironman Europe make the experience so amazing. And it's something that Scott is working on bringing back to the North American races. But I've been to that same venue with Kyle, or been to that same venue Kyle went to. That bike course is unbelievable. And just the overall experience and the love and passion and care, everything from that race to the Noosa Triathlon. If you haven't been to one of the Oceania races, I mean, Mark and Kyle just went to 70.3 Worlds. It's insane.
Tammy takes amazing care of the professionals down there, like amazing care.
Yeah,
it's wild too. I mean, Talbot and I spoke over the weekend. I think we counted that there were 8 Ironman events going on this weekend.
Yeah,
8.
Fucking hell.
So it's just like the scope and scale of it, right? It's so insane. That's just a completely, another level. But
all right, I'll get into the race.
Hit it.
So really, really cool. They do like a point-to-point swim. It's kind of a box. We're sitting out at swim exit, and before the race, I was talking to Jamie, and Jamie was like, "Oh, no way I'm swimming front group. No way I'm swimming front group." Jamie Riddle comes out, leads the swim, is like doing backstroke and all this stuff. He said he got bored in the swim. So he comes out of the water ahead of Matt Marquardt and I'm blanking on who else was with them. Was it
Doesn't matter.
Marquardt and Josh Amberger? Anyways, they come around, and then I just see Jamie and Josh come around the corner, and I'm like, where the hell did Marquardt go? And then I see him freaking Frankenstein walk in, and I'm like, this is going to be bad. Guy bleeds 8 minutes on the bike right out of the gate. Jamie's just off the front by himself. I talked to him after the race. He was doing intervals during the bike because he was bored. So,
I think you can say that stuff when you then win the race. I don't think you should say that stuff when you then get absolutely fucking hammered. And I like Jamie Riddle an awful lot, but you can't be going around after the race saying I got bored in the swim and the bike when you then get absolutely pummeled on the run.
I do want to share one other piece about that, because like bike racing has these moments that are insanely boring.
Yeah.
And you have to accept and embrace those moments, because then there's going to be a moment that is the complete opposite of that. So yes, that is just the contrast of those races. And you have to know, okay, I am going to be really, really bored, but I've got to stay disciplined through these moments.
I say that because as an age grouper, I also get bored. Like, and most age groupers, I'm sure, just get bored as hell doing these races. So,
I mean, I got bored in our Ironman when we were walking. I was like, this is boring. We have like 25 miles to go, and we're already walking.
Anyways, Nick Thompson bridges the gap like as they're starting the second loop of the bike, and then just freaking motors, drops. I believe there's 3 Australian like World Tour cyclists that were in this race. Ben Hill is one of them. Will Clark's the other one, and then I think there was a third. So anyways, Nick Thompson posts fastest bike split, comes in off the bike, and has a pretty comfortable lead for a while. And then Marquardt just figures it out and goes through the cramp and then catches. At one point, I didn't think he was going to catch until about 2K to go, and then he just freaking worked it. It was a 4-loop run. It's very flat and fast, so you see each other a lot. There's like one corner where you can see the athletes like 6 times. So there's like a hot corner there. So you can give a lot of information. It's really spectator friendly. There's a bunch of bars, things like that. The course is incredible for the run. The bike is like pretty shut down. So we were in a media van with a bunch of the Australian media and Japanese media and Singaporeans. So that's kind of how we were able to see a little bit of the bike.
That's funny. I bike raced against Ben Hill. I had no idea he's doing triathlon. I just looked up his pro cycling stats to see if that was the same guy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he wouldn't remember me, but I do remember. I'm good with names. So anyway.
Marquardt ended up winning the race on the men's side. Second place was Nick Thompson. Huge result for him. And then third place actually was Henrik Goetsch. For a long time, Jamie was in third and then kind of bouncing in between. And then cramped pretty bad at the end of the bike and then at the end of the run. And then Matt Hansen, 2:30:21. That's the second fastest run split we've ever seen in an Ironman, both at Roth and Ironman. So I know that we kind of want to start like saying iron distance for Ironman runs and things like that. But that one was a 2:30:21. So fastest run split.
Really impressive. Did you guys know Matthew Marquardt was a medical student?
I did not. Did you know that he went on a cruise?
All the more impressive to me that in fact you're a medical student and you go on a cruise and you're still winning Ironmans.
And this whole cramp, like he couldn't, the brother couldn't walk after the swim, and to think like, okay, how's he going to make this calf feel better? He's going to ride 180K and then he's going to run 42.
Just a warm up, loosen it off.
It was just dude. I would have been mentally so bummed. So no, I think I'm super. I thought that was a super cool win for Matthew.
You know what's crazy is think about the psychological effect of an athlete coming out 8 minutes down, and you're like, they're out of the race. I mean, that's just like why Ironman is so awesome, because it is such a long day.
Guy has 9 lives. Came back to life like 6 times.
Yeah, mad. Right, hit the women's race, because actually my MVP of the weekend was in the women's race.
Becca Clark led out the swim, and then followed by Lottie Wilms kind of by herself, and then a group of 3 with Hannah Berry coming out, and then Regan, Jackie, and Chloe all came out together. The bike was dominated by Lottie Wilms. Eventually, Hannah had quite a bit of time trying to get her helmet on, and so she gave some time back there, and then that allowed Jackie and Regan to kind of catch up with her pretty early in the bike, and then they kind of rode it all together, which is what Jackie's plan was all week long. She kept dropping these little nuggets of like, hey, let's ride the bike together. Let's ride the bike together, because Jackie loves riding bikes in groups. So, and then the fastest run split was Kylie Simpson. There was obviously a little bit of stuff that happened in T2 with Lottie Wilms, with her watch being in her. It was in her swim bag, so she like thought it was in a run bag, and so they had to go back and find her swim bag and get it out of the swim bag, and so she gave basically her entire 2-minute lead back.
I think I love Lottie and her partner. You've got to be good enough to run without a watch. It is not worth. It should not be worth 2 minutes to you. You know, Alistair Brownlee did his first Ironman without one, and the guy's the least reliable pacing athlete that's ever lived.
He's like, I'm gonna. Okay, you guys. I think we start at 2:48 per K, and we're gonna see what happens. Yeah. All right.
It feels about
easy.
right.
It felt easy.
Yeah. So like, I don't think it should be worth standing there for 2 minutes. You've just got to be like robust enough that I'm just going. You should know what it feels like, is my point, I think.
And then Jackie ended up catching in the run, kind of. I wouldn't say she like necessarily ran away with it, but she was just consistent and just kept hitting her paces, and eventually ballooned the gap out. And won the race over Hannah Berry and Lottie Wilms. So this is the first time in history that both the men and the women's side has been won by American, and the first time in like 14 years that two people from outside of Oceania has won the race. So I'm not going to say that this credit due to Kenny and I going down there, but Americans win the races whenever we're there. So.
And to be fair, I've bagged on Oceania races being proper easy for so long now. It's quite nice that 2 Americans turned up and rolled it. Obviously, I'm talking bollocks when I say that, but it's kind of funny.
The course is beautiful, though. Like, if
It really is.
people are wanting to go do a beautiful race, like, the swim is gorgeous. Like, I'm not going to say that it's in the Great Barrier Reef waters, but it is really nice. It's pretty choppy, so if you're a strong swimmer, it's really good for you. And if you're someone that wants a beautiful bike course, like completely shut down, the only thing that's on the course are bikes and motos for the race. Like it's gorgeous. So there's a bunch of reels that you're going to see of how beautiful the course is. So next year, whenever you're like, I want to do a beautiful race in Paradise, it's this.
Talbot and I agreed that when our kids have graduated from high school, and then we're still doing the pod, that we are going to go to Ironman Cairns as well. But it will be a bit.
And we're going to do the relay, the 70.3 relay.
Because the travel's monstrous. Holy smokes.
It's actually, the travel sucks, but the jet lag, there's like no jet lag. Like you wake up at 4 a.m. every morning, like coming from America anyway. You wake up at 4 a.m. every morning and you're like, well, all right, ready to start the day.
And bloody Australians are already up then anyway. They love a good morning.
Yeah.
run.
I know, dude.
Dude,
They like
it's
don't do
insane.
dinner there, and it is like party in the AM. It's so
The
fun.
amount of people rolling out on bikes, going on jogs, everything like at 4 or 5 a.m. I'm like, bro, these people are nuts.
Yeah, I know. So I might have to leave early. So I wanted to propose that in future we steal off the Geraint Thomas podcast, which I love, and they do Chapeau of the Week, and other podcasts do different things. So, you know, we just agree on a Chapeau of the Week, the best performance. It doesn't have to be the winner of a race. It's just something they do. For me, this week, Jackie Herring would win it because she was in Germany 2 weeks ago with cuts in her tire, thinking her Ironman series is out the window. You know, she's got kids at home. She's got all this stuff. She has to fly all the way back to America, which is like 2 or 3 flights. She then has to repack, get the flights booked, get, you know, the money together for it, everything.
Yeah, and I think her
3 more flights.
I think her bags were delayed from Europe.
Yeah, they were. And then they were delayed coming home as well. Yet she turns up 2 weeks later, bags the win. Ironman series is still alive. For me, the Chapeau of the Week is Jackie Herring.
Yeah, back in the game, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yep, agree.
Pat, you picking someone?
How can you not pick Jackie? I mean, that's just like a no-brainer. I mean, dude.
Yeah.
Talbot?
Morgan Pearson.
Everyone knows I love picking more than one person, so I'm just going to pick one person.
No, you get one.
Matthew Marquardt. I mean.
Yeah. Shout out.
But then Jackie wins it.
Yeah.
Very fair.
By vote.
Congrats. First Chapeau of the Week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would pick Jackie, hands down.
Yeah.
Real cool race. They were split in the men's and the women's races were split between Boulder, and then there was one in Happy Valley, Pennsylvania. I've never been there. Shout out to Sam Appleton for winning the men's race in Boulder.
For real.
Local race for him. You know,
the guys had like every result under the sun at that race, and to finally come away with a win.
Yeah. So I was out on course when the race was going on, and to see him leading it, I was super stoked for him. So I bump into him around town, and to see him win this race, it would have been in front of his family, his kid, his wife. It would have been awesome. So that was really cool. And then
our reaction shows what an easy guy to like he is, right? All of us were like, yes, winner, love it.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah,
totally.
And then huge win for Lydia Russell in Happy Valley, Pennsylvania. So
yeah,
that would have been a breakout result for her. And I don't think anybody picked her to win, and she beat some great people. So yeah.
You got to be stoked when you beat, and no matter who you are, when you beat an Ironman former Ironman world champion. So
Yeah.
hats off to Chelsea. She's definitely proved she's on her way back. Almost ran down Lucy. Was able to run with Lydia's phenomenal athlete, amateur athlete last year, and on her way up, making her way up through the pro rankings. So
no, I think I mentioned it on the show. I saw her riding maybe 3-4 weeks ago, and I thought she looked like just really good energy, really good body language out on the bike. So those two results for me were not surprises, actually.
yeah, totally. Before though we leave the pro series, can we just talk about real quick how bad it is that you're not even capturing the lead change after like 4 hours of Nick Thompson being in the lead and Matthew Marquardt's passing him, and they cut to a commercial? I mean, like, is
Tell me,
it
well, they
just
have
like
the commercial booked for those time slots?
Yeah,
but it's just
scheduled.
like you are calling the show from the studio. Like that's just when
it's
you say,
terrible.
guys, no
Yeah.
this pass is about to happen. No commercials happening. Like you just act like what is going to happen? Do you think that Roca is going to be like at hour 6.5? You didn't run our commercial. I mean, it is so bad. It's embarrassing because what sucks about it is the Ironman media team, like their content team, is doing a phenomenal job hyping these races, getting everyone excited. The storytelling, they're doing that Iron Will docu-series, all that. And then you see the broadcast and you're just like, guys, what are you doing?
This goes back to what I said. They need to own their broadcast from tip to tail, and they can't be outsourcing it. And I think this is a really clear example of that. I think
needs to be like I will pay $100 a year to watch these races with no commercials.
100, yeah, okay, but you're a super nerd.
Yeah, but
that's like 20 races. It's $5 a race.
I don't. The thing with the commercials are like,
I disagree, Kyle. Because I forget to cancel my stupid outside trash ass.
Oh, bro, I get freaking.
And I finally got so mad after that, and just to get everyone a heads up on here, I'm gonna make a tutorial video. Outside Watch is so bad. I finally subscribed to NordVPN so I could at least watch with at least half of the commercials on YouTube. So if you're in America, Outside Watch is so bad. Download a VPN, put your VPN in Europe, and watch on YouTube. At least you will see half of the commercials.
yeah.
And you can engage in the comments.
Also, you can watch some like news channels from abroad as well, and like learn some stuff. That
I mean, it is seriously. Outside is so bad, and then also just the commercials. Oh,
it does create an opportunity for
I should literally make a tutorial and collaborate with Outside Watch on how to use NordVPN to bypass their terrible paywall system.
Kyle, shout us out for the ministry athlete that won in Ironman Austria. Who is that?
Finn Gross-Fries won Ironman Austria. Young guy, super young guy. Didn't have the result he wanted to in Texas, but to be able to come away with his first Ironman win and his first pro win, pretty huge result for Finn. So
coached by Bjorn Giesman as well.
Hey, speaking of ministry, real quick, since they're a sponsor of our show, I want to get my hands on one of those bicarb gels. How can we get some?
They're sold out.
Yeah, but we're seeing Sebi. We're seeing Sebi in 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll bring some home for you.
Hey, get me one. I genuinely want to try one. I mean,
it's like because I feel the lactic when I'm holding the camera sometimes for 8 minutes.
When I'm editing, I need one more bump.
The lactic's building up. The lactic's building up.
I'm doing high rocks, guys. I need y'all to shut up. I'm doing high rocks. I've already converted.
Now
on to High Rocks World Championship that I went to this last week.
No, I don't want to talk about the hybrid rock stars.
I think, could we talk about High Rocks? Because I'm going to bring it back to Ironman here in a second.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I think it's relevant.
It stands for hybrid rock star. It's know what I mean? It's awful.
Okay.
I heard a rumor. I heard the same company that owns Ironman, I could be fact checked on this, owns High Rocks.
No, it's
that Chinese brand. Does that Chinese brand still own Ironman?
I don't think Wanda
No.
still owns them.
Wanda.
No,
Oh,
they don't.
okay.
No.
Wanda owns a TV broadcasting company that owns Hyrox. So then never mind. Keep going, Pat.
I think what I saw so obviously Hyrox is really, really hot right now. And Talbot called me because he's just losing his mind because he thinks Hyrox is like the next big thing,
Dude.
right? And obviously,
welcome to 2024, Talbot.
And I think while Hyrox has some stuff really going in their favor, where they've got a standardized discipline, they've got something that is fairly uniform and it's athletic based. I think that's cool. It's also a stadium, so it's easy to watch. I think what they saw over the weekend is that as putting on an event goes and putting on something that is in theory supposed to be able to be replicated at every single venue is really, really challenging. And then the second part to that is it's hard for me to understand where this goes commercially when the athletes are effectively just wearing shoes and shorts, and the women wear sports bras.
Definitely no t-shirts.
And so where does the commercial momentum go from this? Like, as obviously in the cycling industry, it's bikes, shoes, pedals, power meters, etc. Triathlon, it's wetsuits, it's shoes, it's all the bike gear. It's hard for me to understand commercially where this goes when all that you're wearing is at the most $500 worth of stuff.
But don't they, Talbot? Don't they put tattoos on them of like their sponsors and stuff?
Bro, don't get me started. I was trying to take a picture for Kenny, and I was looking for this athlete, and I was looking at his Instagram, and he had this tattoo right here, and so I was looking for him in the pro field for like 10 minutes, and I finally realized it was a temporary tattoo, and he wasn't wearing it in that position. So it tells you how stupid I am. Back real quick to what Pat said on replicating fairness, just so you guys do understand. Their sled push was on a bad carpet, and so the likes of even our very own friends of the show, Luke and Beth McKenzie, were screwed over by it. They got the bad aisle that had the bad sled, and so Beth was like, "Luke, you're pathetic. You're terrible. You're a terrible husband. How can he not push this?" And he was able to redeem himself later on, so it was all good. But no, it was unfortunate. I think they could have potentially placed, but they got a bad sled. So
yeah, but
it was
no
good.
drug. There's no drug testing.
No. There was. Sorry,
Bullshit.
there was. WADA was there. I was trying to interview Hunter, and they had to take him because they said they needed to do drug testing. WADA was there. I don't know if it's like that at all the other events. I just know it was that at the World Championship.
There's no out of competition stuff. There's nothing like that yet. And my prediction is their downfall will be that people get bored. They'll have to change the format because it's not like a destination event like triathlon or fell running or cycling. It's like you're flying somewhere to go to a warehouse to do the exact same activities. And I reckon people get bored. That's my prediction.
They ain't having races. They ain't having races at places that you can eat crocodile and kangaroo.
No, the other thing I want to clarify is that they have the same problem that the indoor races have, where it's like the machines all aren't going to be calibrated the same. And so people are going to figure that out. Like, okay, this is the slow, ski erg. This is the slow, and so I just think there's that part of it I don't like either, where there's a fairness of equipment that I don't think is going to be standardized, or that they're going to be able to calibrate equally.
Yeah. Real quick before we move on from it, I'm telling you right now, I even texted him when I was there. Ben Canute could win the World Championship, Hyrox World Championship next year if he tried.
He should try.
Take it or leave it. Kid would outrun everyone there. Aerobically could outrow everyone there. Ben Canute could win a Hyrox World Championship.
Just don't put a sled on the double carpet section.
Ben, don't go for the sled on the double carpet. The problem was it was an issue in Nice at the World Championship last year. So
yeah, I just think there were a lot of people that were calling me that were saying like, this is the next Ironman, or this could be better than Ironman. And I'm like, I see why you can say that, but I don't see beyond it.
It's gonna be.
Yeah.
It'll be like CrossFit. I mean, it may last 10 years, but.
Speaking of hot takes, let's run through some of these. We got a few good ones. Where is Ann Hug at?
Bro, she was supposed to be racing this coming weekend at Ironman Les Sables. It's a women's race, and I don't know what happened. Maybe someone can do a wellness check.
It's a shame that Mark had to hop off because he just had dinner with her, so we could have got the full scoop there. But if he would have given it to us.
But we got 4. There's 4 Ironmans left, so Anne's not doing one of them, so she's got 3 Ironmans left to validate and qualify. But
Sam Laidlow. I mean, he's not on Frankfurt start list. Now I think he has 2 left. He has Placid and another one, and he's already said he's doing Roth. So
he's got either Placid, Copenhagen, or
time will tell.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
Why does triathlon
Leeds.
not have journalists?
They do. They have a couple.
I'm not
That's
a
not fair.
journalist.
They have a couple.
you
Tim
used to
Hemming,
have Brad Colt.
Kevin McKinnon. Come on, they got a couple. I think given the size of our sport, that ratio is about correct.
That's fair. There's
fair.
more podcasters than there are journalists, though.
Yeah, but I think
I met an interesting bloke at the High Rocks World Championship. He was a writer for Men's Health, and he was writing for Red Bull, and they sent him. I mean, this is hard to wrap my head around, but it makes sense because he's a true journalist. They sent him to the event from Europe just to watch it. He's a writer. He's a journalist. Isn't that crazy?
That's gnarly.
That's old school. That's what that is. That's old school journalism right there.
I mean, that's awesome. Next one. What increased the level of long course more? Short course athletes or equipment and nutrition?
I feel like that's got to be topic of the week. That's a big one to try and unpack.
Let's chat about it next week then with Mark on the show.
Yeah, we'll hold that one.
Next
that
one.
Big one.
Does your run split matter if you don't win, Pat?
No.
Kyle?
I would only if you go sub 230.
I would say 0%.
Yeah.
And if your sponsor's paying that fastest run split bonus.
I've never seen a fastest run split bonus in my
life.
Never.
Someone's missing some clauses in their contracts.
Why would you put that? Why would you incentivize that? I wouldn't. I would never incentivize that for the reason that for the reason we just said, if you get 4th and you have the best run split, who cares? We just said it's a 0% chance.
Then here's one. Speaking of times, do times really matter? Like there's like the Challenge Raw fastest time and then the Ironman fastest time.
No, I think that there should be designated races where we think it matters. We talked about this a few weeks ago. I think that they could.
Kona?
Kona could be one. I think one that's relevant because, of course, it's all the same.
When you're selling your athletes, how often have you gone to their sponsors and said, Cap Matthews went. Let me tell you guys, Cap Matthews went sub 8. And today are like, oh my, we want to sign her now because she went sub 8. How often do you pull that one out of your?
No, Talbot, you're right. I've
box?
never led with that. I think that I've never led with that. I've never opened. Here's an opportunity to get an athlete. No, but it's something that after the fact that everybody can positively point to.
Yeah. So
and
like
it's
one
day, it's this nice little cherry on top. I think like let's use Ironman Hamburg for the women and say that was an event where Ironman goes, you know what, we're gonna make this a men and women's race. And we're going to deem this as our fast race. We're going to set up pro transitions. And every year we're going to keep going back to Hamburg. And we think this is a course that can keep pulling the Ironman world record. I think that'd be cool. I think that'd be fun to do. And you'd have athletes that would go, you know what? Okay, I want my goals this year. I want to win Kona and I want to do the fastest time possible at this race. I think there is a world where it could make a difference.
All right. Should T100 stop offering wild cards to short course athletes?
Why do you think somebody wrote that?
I'm in that camp. Most of these just came from people that submitted them, but I'm also in this camp that I'm getting to the point now that it's like T100. For me, as a long course fan, I used to be a very big short course fan. Now, recently, I've become a pretty big long course fan. I feel like T100 just doesn't. There's no way for people to relate to like the 100K distance. It's cool, yeah, it's cool, but then they're getting all these short course athletes to do the races that it's kind of just not really long course anymore. Like to me it's its own thing. Like it's like a short course like feeder series basically at this point.
Yeah.
Until I start seeing like some of these people race 70.3s, like I'm not saying the entire field, but it's just like there's the people that are getting these wild cards are all coming from short course, and it's like, okay, well, there's athletes that should be getting these wild cards. Like they gave them to Alice Beto, Maya Kingma, and then another short course girl, and it's like, for what it's worth, like Lizzie Rayner's been beating up the 70.3 circuit this year. Why would you not have given her a wild card for either Vancouver or San Francisco?
Did you chat with her and did she not give her one?
They did not. No.
Well, where was she on the roll down list?
She was high, very, very high.
I have mixed feelings on this. Like, of course,
but then also
T100...
you have Jamie Riddle that he didn't get offered to go to Vancouver, and he's like, "Well, I guess I'm going to Cairns because they don't. I guess they don't reward people that go top 5 at these T100 races."
Well, no, that we talked about that though. That's because their start lists are already set a month before that, so there is a protocol that they have to follow. Their start list for Vancouver was set, so whatever he did in San Francisco wasn't going to change his allowance into Vancouver per their rule.
They allowed 21 people to start the race in San Francisco, so why didn't you say, okay, well, we're going to just have 21 people?
I'm mixed. I think that, like, at the end of the day, like, probably from a spectator standpoint, they want to see Magnus Ditlev, Lionel Sanders, Sam Laidlow, Christian Blumenfeld. They want to see all these guys, and I think that we're just kind of like, we're friends with this pro, and we want to see them get a shot. And it's like,
and let's also remember, like, let's use Jamie Riddle as an example. So they're going to say, okay, we're going to reward you for getting 5th place. Like, yes, that's a great result, but at some point they got to make the cutoff too. Like, they could have said, okay, if you podium, then we'll think about it. You know, I like if I'm on T100
side. But Kyle Smith did the same thing, and they gave him a wild card all last season.
Again, though, that was outside of the 30 days.
So
I feel like they just
hot topic is Sidaro overrated?
I'm not going to entertain that one.
Yeah, I just like, you never know what someone's going through, whether it's injury or whatever. Sidaro is a phenomenal athlete. She just literally got beat by Lucy, who just literally placed in the T100 race. Barely got beat by her, was running her down. So
yeah, she had 2 podiums this year. It's like,
like people say Lionel's overrated, then he comes back and wins Oceanside in a stacked field. I mean, it's just like,
she also was 3rd place at the World Championship last year in Nice. So like, whenever she races at Placid and qualifies for Kona this year, like let's wait, let's bump the brakes a little bit, wait and see what happens at Kona this year before we start hitting the sell button on
Speaking of Kona, do you think that T100 needs some bigger long course names to make it more interesting on the broadcast?
No. I thought this weekend's race was really great. Both the men and the women's race were awesome.
I would agree with you. I think that we saw exactly what you would see last year with all the long course guys. And was it that much better?
I mean, let's just put Lionel in the race in Vancouver.
I would say,
where does he finish? All due respect.
All due respect, I love Lionel. He would agree with me on this. If I literally called Pat during this bike course, turn through transition. They do that out and back. Lionel makes up 30 seconds on a lap. Lionel loses 45 seconds through the turns.
Yep.
I mean, it's just
top 10.
He goes.
It doesn't matter. He's not going on the podium, and no one cares.
And that's saying, you know, and I think Lionel will win 70.3 Worlds.
Yeah.
It's on a venue that suits him perfectly, in my opinion. And so I just think it's like they're making the most with the athletes that we have, and we were actually treated to great races. And on the men's race, and an abundance of lead changes. So I wouldn't come to change a thing.
Will KB be in the GOAT conversation if he wins Nice and Kona?
Yeah, 100%. He will be the only athlete. This is going to be the cool part about this being the last time we're racing in Nice. Christian has the opportunity to do something incredible, which would be win 3 world championships at 3 different venues.
Yeah.
That would be freaking cool. Like, I don't care what anyone says. He'll just have 3 world titles, like 3 Ironman world titles, but at 3 different venues. Like, that's freaking sick.
Yep.
And I would say
I would say he's in the GOAT conversation if he wins 1 more world title.
The likelihood of another athlete winning and becoming the greatest German long course athlete of all time is probably more likely to happen, as he's gotten second there in Nice and returning and won the world championship last year.
Patrick Lang.
Yeah, I do not want to count Patrick out. I do not feel safe doing that.
We get to watch him go head to head in 10 days' time.
I don't think it'll matter because he can always pull something. He can find 5% more when it comes to the big day.
Patrick can.
Yeah, 100%.
And with Frankfurt right around the corner, we're going to do a big pre-race show with that. Kyle and Mark are about to take their big trip to Europe. I have decided I'm going to tag along to go over to Frankfurt as well. And we are going to watch arguably the most stacked Ironman in history outside of the World Championship. So we're super stoked for that. We hope you guys enjoyed today's show. Starting this next week on Saturday, we will be posting our hot takes post on our Instagram page. So make sure you guys tune in every Saturday on our Facebook page, and then we will put those at the end of the show. We hope you enjoyed the show this week. We are we kind of were all talking yesterday. We can't believe how many of us are getting to all these races with Kyle all the way in Cairns. I was at Eagleman. Pat jumped to Boulder. I mean, it's so cool to be at these events, watch how they unfold, and we couldn't do it without y'all's support. So just want to thank everyone for tuning in week in and week out. And we are just excited that we are about to hit championship season, baby. So hope you guys enjoyed the show. We'll see you in the next one.